Proud of the Rose Tree Media School District and all that we have accomplished working together, students, parents, faculty and staff, administration, and board members. Our schools are consistently ranked among the best in Pennsylvania and the country. Our academic, athletic, and co-curricular programs are excellent, as we've talked many times before here. And we've accomplished this in a fiscally responsible manner that respects our taxpayers. Personally, I'm disappointed that events over the past several months have caused divisions in our community and have overshadowed our achievements. Recent publicity does not accurately reflect our district, nor does it fairly portray our exceptional people. After all, education is a people business, and Rose Tree Media is blessed with good people who are passionate and committed. While it's not the only issue of concern, the proceedings involving Mr. Bennett in particular caused distress for many parents. I understand why, for many people, their trust in the district's leadership has been shaken, and it will take time and effort to rebuild that trust. I'm sure everyone here tonight wants the best for our school district. We can disagree respectfully about the most effective ways to achieve our district's goals, but in the end, we all need to work together for the good of our schools and our students, most importantly. To do that, we need to begin the process of moving forward. That doesn't mean we discount what has happened in the past or ignore the feedback and criticisms we have received from our residents. It does mean we learn from it, implement changes where necessary, and prepare for the future. The continued success of Rose Tree Media is bigger and more important than any one person. I've always acted and will always continue to act with the best interests of Rose Tree Media at heart. But it's clear that in my role as board president, I have lost the confidence of a segment of our community, some of whom are my friends and neighbors. In order to help us move forward together, I am stepping down as board president effective immediately, and I am withdrawing as a candidate for re-election. I hope this will help us to focus on improvements rather than on personalities. It has been an honor and a privilege to be a member of this board, and I will continue to serve faithfully through the end of my term this fall. As Vice President, Mr. O'Donnell will conduct the balance of this meeting tonight and lead the board until a new president is selected. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Bill O'Donnell, and so I'll be running the rest of this meeting. I have, just to continue Mr. Hanna's statement, so we will have to select a new president. I'm the vice president running this meeting. The next president would have to be selected per school rules in August at our next, August is our next meeting. So in August, we will have to select a new president. So moving through the rest of the meeting and talking about items on the agenda for tonight. So there are items not on the agenda, that there is no place to discuss these. So I'm just going to mention them now, just so people have information, as I have, so you know what's going on. So there's open positions within our school district. One of those is the assistant superintendent position. That search is still in process. On the agenda tonight, you will see a position called the assistant to the superintendent, which has reduced amount of duties to the assistant superintendent, and that's a temporary position that will perform curriculum development, those types of items, until the permanent assistant superintendent position is filled. State code in Pennsylvania is that when someone gives notice, if we're bringing them in from another school district, that can be up to, that is 60 days. You have to have a 60-day notice requirement. With that being the case, should any of the positions I mentioned tonight be filled from the outside, we need to find interim people to fill that until they can start. So that is why you'll see an interim position tonight while the permanent position is in process. As many, or as all of you know, the Indian Lane principal position has been posted. It was posted last week. That's for the permanent Indian Lane principal position. There will be a temporary person that will need to be selected for the Indian Lane principal position to fill in that gap until the permanent position is selected. Now, Mr. Wygo, if you could, do you mind just discussing the process for selection of an Indian Lane, of a principal?
The process that we will use for the Indian Lane, the permanent principal, after posted 20 days, and during that 20-day period, there will be a committee selected, and that committee will be comprised of parents and teachers, support staff, parents, board members, and other administrators. We will vet the applications and then begin the movement of those people, of those selected, through the process. Typically, our selection process, for those of you who are familiar with the process that was utilized at Media Elementary School, from the original 7 to 8 to 9 candidates, it was moved down to 3 or 4, and then from 3 or 4, it was the candidates were vetted through the administrative staff, and then from the administrative staff to the superintendent, from the superintendent, then the finalists to the Board of School Directors. That process, we have begun that process with the posting of the position, and we will continue that process as we go through the selection for the committee. At this point, Mr. Nolan, would you like to talk a little bit about the selection process for the committee?
Sure. Well, there's really not much more to say other than, as Mr. Wygo stated, we'll have a certain number of parents, teachers, support staff, and those folks will interview on one business day all of the candidates that have been selected from the resumes that are collected. And then they will pass on the top candidates to the administrative and Ed Center interviewers. Some of you have expressed interest. We do have names. We thank you for that. And as soon as we have a committee put together, all of the names will be announced. Pardon?
Same as meeting was done.
Yeah, that's the way we do it typically with any elementary school principal search. So.
And Sue will be involved in that process as well, in addition to other board members. Regarding support aides, so support aides was somewhat announced. I just at last meeting, I believe, but I did want to give an update to the support aides. So the board research that we have, the work we have done to date, the plan is not to outsource the support aides, and we have tentatively scheduled a meeting in early August to discuss an extension of that contract. We are still finalizing the date depending on availability, but that is in the first half of August. And then, so I've talked about the assistant superintendent position, the Indian Lane principal position, and another position that we will have to fill in the coming months will be the Director of Personnel, which is Anne Callahan, who has announced that she was leaving Rochelle Media School District. Please just let me finish my announcements. And we will have to go through that search. So we have are obviously from a board standpoint, we have our hands full from filling very important and sensitive positions within the school district, whether it's the assistant superintendent, the Indian Lane principal, the director of personnel, as well as negotiating with the support aides. One last item that I don't believe has an agenda item, so I just wanted to mention it now, and perhaps we've talked about announcing the email. We have done some work to make sure that we are all accessible for our residents, and there's been work done around providing email addresses so they can be ensured that we get that. And Harry, I believe you've been working with the IT team to put that together.
We've actually been looking at websites from other districts for quite some time to see the formats and techniques they use in order to give email access to the board members. And what we concluded and are going to issue out are district-based email addresses to keep a difference between the school board activities and your personal email accounts. The plan is to have those rolled out the 27th of this month. We have them almost available. We will be testing this week. The 27th is a tentative date. Should we have any flaws, we may delay that, but in all likelihood, we will be going forward with that.
Well done.
So, Harry, thank you, and thank you to the IT team for doing all that work as well.